All right, folks, it's a little bit wet on the outside. I'm just coming on into the inside because I've been out because I had to go to the Haytime Heritage Center, get a little bit of work done. But I was also letting Mr. Terry know that I checked my fantasy team and I am doing horrible. I am 1-3 since I took another L on the last week. How did I know that Daniel Jones was going to score more points than Tom Brady? Because they were even saying that in the fantasy football report. They were saying that I could have scored 101 with my best lineup or something like that. I could have scored some ridiculous amount of points if I had actually put in my best lineup. But no, I couldn't do that. That'd be too much like right. And, we can't be having too much like right in the middle of a fantasy and all of that. That's just not allowed. We can't be doing the right thing in the middle of fantasy. What were they thinking that I was going to do the right thing and all of that? So I'm going to bring my good friend Terry on. He's going to tell me how bad I'm doing and all of that and talk junk to me, but that's all right. I can handle it. And we're also going to read the report from the fantasy football and what they said about my team and how I could have scored 101 points. I was just actually looking at that, begin to bring in Terry and see what he's got going on in his world. Because, like I said, how did I know that that person was going to score all of those points and everything in the middle of a fantasy football game? I'm starting Tom Brady, thinking I'm going to do all right. I knew he had a tough quarterback because he had Justin. He had Justin Herbert and things along those lines. So I knew I was in trouble in that regards, but I was not expecting them to talk junk about me and the quarterback. I also missed starting some receivers that I should have started as well. So I made several big time mistakes in the lineup. And that's what happens, like you said, in fantasy football. You try to guess these things and try to see what's going to happen. And sometimes they just don't want to cooperate with you. And that appeared to be the case in my case. They did not want to cooperate with me in the least bit. They're sitting there going like, oh, you don't want to start the right people? Well, we're going to make sure that you take this L and that you can fall to 1-3 and all of that. But the interesting thing, and then I'm going to read the report that they gave me and everything. They give these lovely little fantasy reports and everything. But the interesting thing was in our league, I think all of the undefeated teams took an L. So they took an L. So we have no undefeated teams in our league, from what I'm understanding. We do have one winless team. That is not me. I have my 3 losses, and there are some other people that have 3 losses as well. But I do know that there is at least one person that has not won at all, and I think he's going up against one of the top teams. So that was actually one of the polls in our league, was whether he was actually going to get a win, and I'm not thinking so because he's playing against one of our top teams. But the thing said, in a week 4 tougher contest, that's the name of our league, the 2-2 BW players beat a disappointing 1-3, giving you the Blues, that's my team, by a score of 63.50 to 55.25. And of course, they had to add salt to the wound by saying, who have now lost 3 games in a row. BW players were led to their 8.25 point victory by a 19-point effort from Justin Herbert, who got by the Las Vegas Raiders defense for 222 passing yards and 3 passing TDs, in addition to 4 rushing yards. They also got help from a 10.5 point effort from Najee Harris, who snuck past the Green Bay Packers defense for 62 rushing yards and 1 rushing TD, in addition to 29 receiving yards. And they give us these little quotes that the players and the coaches say, even though none of us actually write these things. But BW players coach Carl Dixon said, we sent a message here today, giving you the Blues were helped out in a losing cause by a 15-point effort from the Baltimore Ravens defensive team. With this performance, the Ravens was the number 3 ranked defensive team for week 4. So the defense finally came to play. And like I've been telling you, the defense has not been coming to play in the past. They also got help from a 13-point effort from Corey Davis, who beat the Tennessee Titans defense for 111 receiving yards and 1 receiving TD. Compounding the issue. Listen to me, Terry. Compounding the issue, giving you the Blues could have scored 101.75 points and earned the win with their best lineup. But Mark Lee, that would be me, left key players like Daniel Jones and his corresponding 23 points on the bench. So I left, not only did I leave him on the bench, these are some of the other players, if I can go to my team and everything, that I left on the bench. So this is going to be a lesson in what not to do. So I'm going to tell you some of the other players that I left on the bench, and then we're going to get into a discussion about what to do and not to do in fantasy football, as well as just sports in general. But there were some other players that when I looked at the lineup and as the games were going on, I was going like, did I bump my head? Did I not know that that player was going to do well and all of that. Not that you can ever totally know what a player is going to do, because a lot of this is the game of chance and all of that. So I'm going to see if I can't get to the details of this horrible loss that I took and everything. But among the other players, listen to me, Terry. Among the other players, because I did take some of your advice that I left on the bench, were Josh Jacobs. Don't care about that. He only had 3.25 points. But listen to the receiving core that I left on the bench. Given I could not start all of them, but I could have started two of them. On the receiving core, I left on the bench Deontay Johnson, who had 11.25 points because he scored a receiving touchdown, and he also had nine catches for 92 yards. I left Hunter Renfrow on the bench, who had 8.5 points and did really well in the Raiders game. He had a receiving touchdown. And I also left Van Jefferson on the bench, who had a receiving touchdown and had 6 for 90 as well. So I did pick up some players, but unfortunately, I, like a silly person, did not start them. So I should have replaced Zach Pascal and Nelson Aguilar with at least two of those three that I left on the bench. And then maybe the game might have been closer and I might have even taken a victory. I can tell you that in the starting lineup for next week, some of those players are in the lineup because I did recognize my mistake and I have made some corrections. Of course, I'm playing another tough opponent, so who knows what will happen in that game. But at least when I looked at the odds, I was at least at close to being even with them in the lineup. And I might see what else I pick up in the waiver wires. But I did make some pickups and had some good players that I could have used. But like a silly person, I did not. But of course, we know that your team is probably undefeated and doing wonderful in that regard. But by the way, just so that people can know how this goes in a league, the undefeated teams, like I said, in the tougher league, all lost in week 4. So 4 weeks into the season, and there are no undefeated teams. Unfortunately, like I said, there is one winless team left. But yeah, there is definitely no undefeated teams because they all took an L. So like I said, if there were undefeated teams, no more. So how is your league doing? Because like I said, I am not doing good, but I am going to be the comeback kid. Look out, folks. I'm coming back for y'all. I'm going to be the comeback kid and try to first get to 2-3, then 3-3, and all of that. Of course, I might be coming here next week crying about being 1-4, but hopefully that will not be the case, and I'm going to be the comeback kid. So I'm trying to be the comeback kid, but how are things going in your world?
Well, I'm in 11 leagues, and out of those 11 leagues, 6 of them I'm winning. I think I have a positive record. I might be 2-2 in a couple of them. The other ones I'm like 3-1, and I'm not undefeated in no leagues. I lost my first game in one league in the Scott Fish Bowl. I lost one game, so 3-1 in that league. So I'm doing really well. I'm doing
Sounds
really
like
well.
you're doing really well. How do you manage to maneuver 11 leagues? I have a hard enough time doing one. Now there were some times I joined some free leagues in the past, and I might have done 2 or 3 at a time, but I have never really attempted to do 11. So as a fantasy person, how do you manage? And we know that you're the champion. That's why you got a YouTube channel. But how do you manage to even know which players are where and how they're doing in 11 leagues?
That's a great question, Mark. I don't know. I watch football and I digest it, and I just take mental notes and I just watch the game and I just go through my lineups every day, looking at the waiver wires. I have another job that I do, but in between on my lunch break, when I got a break, I'm always looking at my lineups. I'm always looking at news. This is a full-time gig. I do this like up until like 10:30 at night. I'm looking at players, I'm analyzing things, and then I go to bed and I wake up and I do the same thing over. So I don't have a break, but it's fun because I love football. So I'm just always just trying to get ahead. It's very competitive. My leagues are for money, so I have to do that. I have a golden honeypot that's waiting on the other end, so I'm trying to make the best moves that I can make.
I can definitely understand that. Where our league is actually for money as well. I think I've won like some of the contests, small contests, like the Pick'em thing, and maybe some other small contests. I've never won the big pot, even though my brother's won the big pot, I think twice, and definitely some of our friends have won it. So I know it's a pretty decent pot. I mean, it's at least it's not lottery money because the lottery is up to some stupid amount now. And I did buy lottery tickets, but I did not win. So who knows? I might go up to the store later on today and see about buying some more lottery tickets because I haven't won yet. But what did they say? You can't win if you don't play. So
There
I
you
might go
go.
up there and take a couple of chances. I can tell you, I'm not going to be stupid and spend like no 10, 15, or $20. If I go up there, it's going to be hoping that luck is on my side and that Lady Luck is playing out there, and I'm only going to do maybe one or two tickets and hope that that is the right ticket. But I'm not trying to. I know some people go out there and they spend like 100, 150, $200. I'm not trying to do that. I mean, it probably increases your odds, but that's not going to be me. And I know some other people, because I actually talked to some friends about it, that do like those group pools. So, they all chip in and then they buy the tickets as a group. And, there have been cases of those group pools around the country winning because, it might be like some people working together. You're talking about your job. They might all go in and decide that they're going to do that. So that's another way that people can win money in the gaming world, which is part of the sports world as well. So I don't know if you've ever tried that or not, but I was just wondering, Terry, out of the hours that you do, how many hours would you say is actual work in your job that's, in that whole, if I remember correctly, computer space and everything, and how much of it is, do you spend comparably in fantasy? Because you got 11 leagues. So I'm thinking that you probably spend about 40 hours at regular work and another 40 hours in fantasy. So no social life, I'm thinking. That's what I'm guessing.
Yes, I don't have much of a social life during football season, but I would say about 2 hours a day while I'm at work in my 8 hour work hour time. About 2 hours that I'm probably looking at fantasy, going over it on my lunch break, which is like 30 minutes, and I have another little break that I do for 30 minutes. The whole time I'm looking at fantasy. So I say what? Let's say 2 hours through Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, let's say 12 hours. So let me see, 2 times 5, that's 10 and 12. That's about 42 hours a week.
Yeah.
Sunday, I'm just watching football. I'm really not doing content, but I'm watching.
So you're watching content during that time.
Yes, Sundays. Yeah, Sunday, I'm not gonna call that a day. I'm just watching. I'm enjoying it that day. But every other day, every day other than Sunday, I'm doing content.
So we're saying about saying maybe 2 hours at work, another 2 hours doing home, or 3 hours at home. So about 5 hours a day times 6 days. So about 30 hours. So I was right. It is almost a full-time job. It's
It
30
is.
hours a week that you're spending on fantasy. I've heard some people that do even more than that. I've heard some people that have told me that they've done like, some crazy hours, like almost like doing 50 or 60 or 70 hours. So they are really making a job and everything. But yeah, I think 30 is a pretty decent amount and everything along those lines. So definitely that was good. I know that you have to be a happy camper because your team, and we did pick them by the way, did win, even though it was a close game. I think that Carolina thought that they were going to win because they played them tight in the first half, and then all of a sudden Dallas decided that they were tired of playing with them, and they just went ahead and made it a real game and everything. So I was just wondering your thoughts on that because definitely it was amazing what happened in that regards. They were looking really strong, the Panthers, and then not looking as strong. And to answer your question, because we're still toward the bottom, but we've been picking up in terms of our wins and everything. We got 10 right. So we got 10 right, and we'll see how we do today. And the winner of the week last week, it looks like it was a multiple tie. Well, now I do mean multiple because I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that had 12 picks that were correct. So there were 5 people that picked 12 correctly. I need to see if my brother was one of them. Nope, Malik had 11, so he beat me by 1. But definitely there were some people that had 12. And actually, Malik has 2 teams, and I can never remember the name of the other team. So he might have had it in that category, but I'm not seeing it. So because I don't think that I see that name either in this 12 list and everything. But I was just wondering, 10's not too bad. It's still down at the bottom, and at least we're picking somebody every week. So I just need to get some picks, or with your help, some picks that'll get us closer to 13 or 14 in the course of the game. Because last week, in week 3, somebody, or actually a couple of somebody's, picked 13. So they did real well. But 10's not bad. At least it's not 5. At least it's not 6. So at least we're picking some pretty decent games and everything, and doing a pretty good job in that regard. So you asked me that when we began. It looks like we got 10 right.
Okay. Yeah, I won my pick 'em of the week. I think I only had 3 losses,
Oh
and
wow.
I came in first place, which was the $200 prize pool. So I won that. Um, And my Cowboys, I wasn't surprised. We were a really good team this year, so we're gonna dominate a lot of teams.
So you feeling good about your Cowboys? And who do your Cowboys have this week? Do you know?
No, I haven't looked yet. I
Well, we're
haven't
about
looked
to
yet.
find out for you right now. We're gonna find out who the Cowboys got since they just came back from beating, and of course we know we got a game on Thursday as well. As always seems to be games on Thursdays
It's
these
the
days.
Giants. I think it's the Giants.
It could be the Giants. Let's see what they're saying for this week. This will be the second week in the league and everything. So we're gonna find out who we got coming up for these guys and everybody, and see who's coming up in the following week. So on Thursday, the 7th, we have the Rams at the Seahawks, and we'll talk about that when we do the picks. But that could be actually an interesting game. I'm thinking the Rams, but I'm not sure. And we've got the Jets at the Falcons. We've got the Patriots at the Texans. We've got the Lions at the Vikings. We've got the Eagles at the Panthers. So the Eagles are going to go play the Panthers now. And we've got the Saints at Washington. We've got the Titans at the Jaguars. We've got the Dolphins at the Buccaneers. We've got the Packers at the Bengals. The Broncos at the Steelers. The Bears at the Raiders, another good game. The Browns at the Chargers. The Giants at the Cowboys, Sunday night at 4:25. So you were correct about that. The 49ers at the Cardinals and the Bills at the Chiefs. And then the Monday night game is going to be the Colts against the Ravens. So the Colts against the Ravens. So my defense won't be playing till Monday night. So at least I know that I'll be at least probably ahead at that time. Now, what we do the rest of the time will depend on what happens on the weekend. But I know that at least two of my players won't be playing until Monday. I think it's two, but definitely one because I still got the Baltimore defense. Even though at some point I'm gonna have to pick up a defense because I think that they're off in like week 6 or no, this is week 5. So I know they're coming off very shortly, like maybe week 7 or 8 or something like that. But they do have an off week coming up. I'm just curious to find out who they are playing. Oh, the Vikings are playing the Panthers. I actually went to that game a couple of years ago. Need to talk and see if I can go to it again because that would be a fun game to go to since I'm a Vikings fan and the Panthers is my second team. So that's going to be in a week and a half. So I need to make some calls and find out if we can make that happen. So you might hear about me trying to make it down there to that land to catch that game and everything. And it does not look like your Cowboys are. Oh no, they are. Ooh, that's going to be an interesting game. How about the Cowboys at the Patriots on the 17th? So that's just who the Cowboys have on the 17th. So I was
Yeah,
actually
we're gonna whoop them. Yeah,
you gonna whoop
we're gonna whoop them real nice.
you gonna whoop them real nice?
Yes.
No mercy.
No mercy. No mercy. We got to stump on the neck. They've been stumping on us for 10 to 20 years. So when we get a chance, we got to stump on their neck too.
So y'all are gonna be the no mercy team this time. No mercy at all. Let's see what's happening in the world that they're talking about and everything. They're talking about somebody that was nearly silenced in terms of the ALS. So that ought to be an interesting story. We're going to have to find out about that in a minute and see what Terry's got to say about that. But first, let's see what they're saying about keeping an eye on 3 road teams in week 5. So they're saying that there are 3 road teams that we need to keep an eye on in week 5. So that's what NFL betting is saying. Let's see if we agree with them. Because, sometimes they talk about there being a decline in the home field advantage. Do you think that there's been a decline? I think we talked about that last time. Do you think there's been a decline in the home field advantage, or is it still a factor or not? Because, through 4 weeks, road teams have covered the spread in 57% of the games. There are several explanations for why the playing field is leveling for visiting teams, whether it's the use of replay allowing officials to step away from the emotion of the moment, or organizations optimizing the travel experience for their players. But it definitely seems that teams are getting better at performing on the road each year. They've also improved the way they approach consecutive road teams. So teams file scheduling requests to have their long distance games connected to avoid traveling back and forth. And, in the past, they would typically circle these spots on the schedule each year, looking to take advantage of a team that was fatigued from travel. But this season, it looks like it's the home teams that are taking the loss. So visiting teams on the second leg of back-to-back road games are 11-2 right now. 4 weeks is a tiny sample size, and I agree with them. That's a tiny sample size. But, when it comes to emotional and these kind of stories, they're saying that one of the games that you might want to look at is Cleveland Browns at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are coming off an emotional Monday night win against a divisional rival. Now they'll face their toughest test on short rest. The Browns defense held a Vikings team that was averaging 29 points per game to a single touchdown in front of their home crowd. It was the Vikings' lowest point since September of 2019. Good defenses apparently travel well, and Cleveland is the NFL's best kept secret in terms of defense. So they're saying that while certain players like Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski may get the headlines, the Browns do rank second in yards per play allowed and third in sack percentages. Justin Herbert has been great under pressure, but Myles Garrett is a different kind of person. So definitely, it's singing that they're saying that you might look out, and it might be a time that in that particular case is that the road team wins. Of course, they've only got the Cleveland Browns up by
Chargers going to
on
win
the
that
Chargers.
game.
But what do you think? The Chargers are going to win that game?
Chargers going to win that game. I told you earlier, maybe not on it was in this segment, but Justin Herbert is phenomenal. Justin Herbert is one. I think he's going to be the best quarterback of all time. I know that's real early. I know that's an outrageous take, but I want to state my claim now. Justin Herbert is the GOAT. I've never seen a quarterback so young and process so much information in today's game. Now, it's a little bit different than it was back like 10, 15 years ago where you could get dumped on your head and they weren't going to call a penalty. So it's different. But still, I love Justin Herbert. And I think this team is has a chance to represent the AFC for the Super Bowl because Justin Herbert is just a phenomenon. He has a lot of weapons. Cleveland is good, but I don't think they can beat the Chargers. That's just my opinion.
I hear you. Well, they're saying that, and I'm interested to see what you got to say about this. They are saying your team is going to win, but they're saying that if people are playing the spread, that it might be closer than people think. So this is what they're saying about your game that you're very much interested in. This is what Yahoo Sports is saying, and I'm going to read it, and then you're probably going to shake your head and be like, no, they don't. They're not. Don't know what they're talking about. But I'm just going to read it, and then you can comment afterwards. But the Giants are coming off an outright win in the same spot as a 7-point road underdog last week. We know that Dak Prescott is going to score points with this Cowboys offense. Dallas is averaging over 30 points per game and shredded Carolina's number one ranked defense last week. The Giants can keep this one close. Daniel Jones is coming off a 400-yard performance and has the Giants offense ranked in the top 10 in yards per play. The Dallas defense is vulnerable to the run, allowing 4.7 yards per rush. That's music to Jason Garrett and Dave Gettleman's ears. I don't think Joe Judge can pull off another upset win, but this will be competitive enough to bring us home the cover. Give me the big divisional underdog. So in other words, they're thinking, because I think it's a 7-point spread, that y'all won't quite make the spread. That it's going to be closer than folks expect in that game. So are you thinking it's going to be closer in terms of the spread, or are y'all going to be in for a dogfight, or is it going to be a runaway victory when y'all take on the Giants based on some of what I just read as an observation of one of our sports people that love to make their comments here on Yahoo and other platforms?
Well, I think it's going to be a close game. It's a divisional game. You don't blow out guys in your division. You rarely see a divisional game more than 7 points because they know you. They play you every year twice. So they know your tendencies. They know what type of players that you're trying to get out in space. So I believe it's going to be a close game. But we can beat you too many different ways this year. We can beat you with the run game, and we can beat you with the pass game. A lot of people are saying, well, Dak Prescott, he's not going to be the quarterback that I thought he was going to be this year. Yeah, because we don't need him to throw it for 400 yards every game. We can give it to Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard and win that way. So the Giants are trending up, but they just running into a bigger juggernaut. I think the NFC East is the second best football division in the NFL this year.
Okay, and who do you see as the first division or the best division?
NFC West.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. And speaking of other divisions, here's the other road game that they're saying people may find interesting. The Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Titans closed as 5.5 favorites to the Colts and easily covered just 2 weeks ago. Even factoring in the injuries to the receiving core, it's hard to justify that the Titans aren't 4 points better than a Jaguars team that was 7.5-point underdogs to the Bengals. Tennessee is coming off their worst performance of the year, while the Jaguars are coming off of their best. It's the perfect buy low, sell high situation, and the people over there at Yahoo say that they're on the Titans. Urban Meyer's distractions aren't helping a young team searching for leadership. It's always one step forward two steps back for the Jaguars. The Jacksonville defense ranks 23rd in rushing success rate allowed. And let's grab the Titans on a short line and bet on Derrick Henry to bulldoze his way to a big Titans win. So they're actually picking the Tennessee Titans to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you agree with that? And the reasons that they're given is they're thinking that the Tennessee Titans are going to knock out those Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think Jacksonville has a chance to win this game. And the reason why Tennessee defense is garbage, they don't have anybody to get to the quarterback. So you have a rookie quarterback that he's been getting a lot of pressure. But if he's not going to get him pressure, he can beat you. He is the elite talent, Trevor Lawrence. So I believe Trevor Lawrence comes out here, they rally behind their coach because it's not about what you do outside the field. Nobody cares inside the locker room. That's just locker room talk. Oh, I'm sorry. They don't care what happened. He need to talk to his wife about what happened. But as far as his coach, by what he did last week, he changed up the game plan. I think that's going to be really good for going into this game. So I think I actually would take Jacksonville over Tennessee just because Tennessee, their receivers are hurt. If they had their full receivers, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones was playing, then I would pick Tennessee. But all I got is Derrick Henry. So if I feel like if they can stop Derrick Henry, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they can win this game.
I hear you. We're going to talk some more about football and everything, but I do want to switch to another sport just really briefly because we know that baseball is starting. My Brewers are in the playoffs. A number of other teams, including the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, which of course is the parent company for the Durham Bulls, is in the playoffs as well. But ironically, one of the articles that I've been hearing about is that, baseball is missing some of their brightest stars. So some of the biggest stars in the sport are not playing because, like in any sport, injuries can really hurt you and everything. So Shohei Ohtani is just the second baseball player ever to be named to Time Magazine's list of the top 100 most influential people in the world. He was called an icon and definitely was put along the likes of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Britney Spears, Dolly Parton, and a lot of other celebrities. And the other athletes on the list are names you might know from watching them compete and win on international stages. Folks like Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka, and Allison Felix. Unlike them, you won't be seeing Ohtani if you watch his sports premiere event. That's right, the Los Angeles Angels finished fourth for the fourth consecutive year despite his historic season. So a 6-month storyline about Ohtani as the emerging face of baseball will give way to a month-long tournament to crown a champion that doesn't involve him at all. So Ohtani's global influence then is significantly greater than the influence he has over the Angels' record. So even though he's maybe a great player, his team was not that great, and therefore they're not in the playoffs. So in a world where Mike Trout also plays for the Angels and can spend every October back home in Millville, New Jersey, we already know that the best players in baseball don't always get to play in the biggest games. But this year is particularly noticeable because not only will Ohtani miss the postseason, but virtually all the candidates who have been in MVP conversations this season will as well. That's right. All those folks that people were talking about being MVPs, their team did not make it into the big dance and into all of that. So when Ohtani wins AL MVP, some people will say that Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's 48 home runs this season, is tied for first in baseball and the most in MLB history, Major League Baseball history, by a 22-year-old who was robbed. His Toronto Blue Jays played meaningful baseball until the last day of the season, but ultimately fell a game short of the second AL wild card, which means that even his chronically underrated teammate Marcus Semien, who was second among position players in the whole baseball kind of thing and everything, led baseball in extra hits, and even he finds himself away from the whole big dance. And there's some other players that have in similar kind of seasons as well. I believe that Fernando Tatis Jr. is another one because his San Diego Padres collapsed. And there's some others, including Bryce Harper, who almost dragged an undeserving Philadelphia Phillies team into playoff contention down the stretch, but he couldn't do it by himself. So what do you think when you see that these teams that are supposed to be having some of the best players, their teams are not in the playoffs? So we're going to see some big time athletes playing for the World Series and for the playoffs leading to the World Series, but it does look like we're going to be missing some major names as well. And of course, some of this is injuries. Some of them is that they just play for bad teams, and it can be for a variety of reasons. But what are your thoughts when you hear of things like that, where people might be thinking, when they see the All-Star list, they may be like, well, where was that player in the playoffs? And it can exist in other sports as well. But, we are going to hit into playoff season. And I was just wondering your thoughts when you see some of these names that have been getting all this conversation and they're nowhere to be found in the playoffs.
Well, I would say you got to be patient. I'm really I don't really have a team in baseball, but I watch it, and I like the Yankees.
Right.
And the Yankees for like 7 to 8 years, they wasn't in the playoffs. They was finishing last, but they was building those draft picks. And this is what these teams are doing. Otani, Mike Trout, all they need is a couple more players.
Right.
So they gonna be there. So you just got to be patient. These guys are young. It's not your time. You don't have the team right now or the coach, but it's mostly the team. So they're gonna be okay. You're gonna see Fernando Tatis in the championship. You're gonna see Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani's he's bringing it back from the day back in like the early 1900s when we played baseball. He pitches and he hits. So you haven't seen that since like Babe Ruth and those that genre. So the game is changing where you're gonna have to be multiple. You got to be able to play shortstop, second base. So these guys are just coming up and they really great baseball players, but they're gonna get more help. So I think you're gonna see the San Diego Padres, the Angels, all those teams, they're gonna be in the playoffs in a couple of years. So you just gotta be patient, but it's not their time right now.
It's not their time. They got to wait for their time. Speaking of waiting your time, sometimes you got to wait your time to also have your voice heard as well. And that's actually what that other story that I said I was going to get to was about. So nearly silenced by ALS, which if I remember correctly, that's Lou Gehrig's disease. An ex-NFL pro is now telling his story. He's telling about what he's been going through and how he's dealing with it and all of that. So Tim Green's days are full. The former linebacker and defensive end for the Atlanta Falcons, who is in retirement and has practiced law, worked as a commentator on NPR, and hosted TV shows and written more than 20 books, spends his morning tackling his emails. After that, Green, 57, works through a series of conference calls and law firm business through the middle of the day. Then he writes all afternoon until it's time for what are often extended family dinners. Green watches his grandchildren play until their bedtime arrives. Then he watches TV with his wife, Alessa, and the youngest son, Ty, 15, before reading himself to sleep. And Green does all of this while having amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, the degenerative nervous system disorder that causes the loss of muscle control, getting plenty of assistance at every turn. The ventilator keeps him breathing. He eats with a feeding tube. He cannot speak. He communicates and writes using a device that tracks his gaze as he selects letter on a screen to create messages that the device types out for conversation or as a chapter in his next book. His latest, final season about a family grappling with whether a child should keep playing football after his father, who is also his coach, is diagnosed with ALS. Yet it is based on true events. Debated recently at debuted, I should say, recently at #1 on the New York Times bestseller for children's middle grade hardcover. So it takes immense patience, even now, when I've been writing several hours a day, 6 days a week for 3 years. Green said of the laborious process during a video interview last week. The swash of his ventilator hummed through the airwaves every few seconds, and the machine is beautiful but temperamental. When I had the use of my fingers, the book would have taken me less than a year to write. To see Green in this state, to hear that powerful tenor voice that once melodically coursed over public radio airwaves, transformed into halting computer-generated sentences, to look at a former wrecking ball on the football field, nestled practically motionless in the high-tech chair that allows him to function, is a reminder of the disease cruelty and of the nimble mind still seeking to make the most of a body that can no longer survive without constant assistance. So, sometimes these athletes, we don't think about what happens to them afterwards and all of that. So I'm not going to read the rest of the article, but actually I was talking a little bit about who Green was. They say that one of Green's sons, Troy, said his father's life can be divided into two distinct phases. The first was built around physicality. Green was a star at Syracuse and a first-round NFL draft pick in 1986, and he played 8 seasons with the Atlanta Falcons. His chiseled bone structure and deep-set eyes did not hurt his efforts when he launched his television career, and at home he got on all fours and his children rode around the horse like he was a pack animal and all of that. In the second phase, Green has pursued a legal career and works as an author following his retirement from the NFL. In 1993, Green became first started struggling with his hands and fingers around 2011, but he was not diagnosed with his slowly progressing form of ALS until 2016. And you know that is definitely a degenerative disease that can take a whole long time to run its course and all of that. So our thoughts go out to him, and definitely it does seem like he is still trying to find ways to stay engaged and stay involved and things along those lines. So I just wondering, when you hear about things like that, what is your thoughts about that kind of lifestyle, and how, who knows, even the football playing might have even impacted what he was doing in that regards. But I was just wondering your thoughts when you hear of these stories of these past athletes that are fighting things like Lou Gehrig's or other kinds of diseases that are out there.
Well, I'm never surprised when I see guys that play sports overcome these diseases, because sports teaches you to overcome life. It's not about sports always. It's the camaraderie for the sports, but it really teaches you life lessons to be tough. And these guys, and I'm not surprised. This guy, he's just a really tough guy. So he's not gonna stop living his life. He's not gonna stop enjoying his life. So I just love to hear stories like this. This is why I love sports. And I know I say that a lot, and I don't want to sound like cliche, but yeah, I do. I love these stories. It's perseverance, and I have a life where I had to persevere to get where I'm at. I haven't went through nothing like this, like Tim had to go through. So I'll tip my hat to Tim. Keep doing it, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully we find a cure for this. I mean, all this technology we have, hopefully we can figure something out and slow it down or stop it at all costs.
No, I agree with you. You know, last year, and I had not really seen this, but this is an article that came out last year, but it's one that I think that you'll find interesting. I'm going to read a little bit about it, and I want to know your take on it. But apparently last year in 2020, there were some black former NFL players that were saying that there was a racial bias around the concussion payouts. So they were saying that some of the players, where the doctors used two scales, one for black athletes and one for the white athletes, to determine eligibility for dementia claims. So, you know, that's an interesting story. But it said that two retired players last year accused the NFL of explicitly and deliberately discriminated against hundreds, if not thousands, of African American players who filed dementia related claims in the landmark concussion statement reached in 2013, making it harder for them to qualify for payouts that are worth as much as $3 million. In legal action that was filed last year and everything, actually in Philadelphia, the players asked that the judge stop the league from insisting that race-based benchmarks be used to evaluate players' claims. They also asked that the scores on the black players' neurocognitive exams be recalculated using race-neutral scales that would put them on an even footing. And it definitely looks like that could have been an interesting case. And I need to do some further research to see if that case was ever settled and what the thing was going on in that regards. But do you think that there could be possibly some race-based kind of things happening in the way that things are treated in the nature of concussion protocol? And like I said, I'll do some further research and maybe we'll come back to this issue later on. But I was just wondering, because I have heard of people, including I think there's a woman that I have had on this network whose husband was involved in the sport and definitely had some injuries that were brain related. And I think that they were even having some cases around how they were responding. I'm gonna try to see if I can get her to come on, because I know she's been on the platform here, meaning international broadcast media, in the past. But I'd love to hear your thoughts as to whether there might be a double standard in the way doctors treat our athletes.
This is a touchy situation. So I'm just gonna be short and say what I need to say about it. But we go through this with more than just filing for claims for like stuff that we've been through when we have health claims. We go through this a lot. Just, whew, I believe it. Yes, I believe it. I don't know why. I'm not God. I can't say why this happens, but I believe that we just, like a lot of African Americans, have stigmatism when it comes to them applying for something. It
Right.
just, they always gonna give you the bad point, the bad part. He's faking. He just wants his money. He's an athlete. It's just so stereotyped. I'm not even gonna make it be race. I don't really think people know what they're doing or how they thinking, but it is. It goes down to race, and you don't even know it. So yeah, I just think we got to keep taking the shovel and keep digging, and hopefully we can break some of these barriers that keep us downtrodden.
I hear you. Speaking of downtrodden, did you know that a team that you play against is without their trainer? Because apparently the Washington football team is without the services of head athletic trainer Ryan Vermillion, and NBC Sports Washington explains why. Apparently, federal law enforcement agents raided the team facility last week. The team also said in the statement that Vermillion had been placed on leave. He's been placed on administrative leave due to an ongoing criminal investigation that is unrelated to the team. So he was reportedly not with the team during Sunday's win at the Falcons. So who knows what he might have done, but apparently it at least brought the law down on him, and it looks like he is not there. So they do not have a head athletic trainer. And apparently this article was dated on the 4th, which was yesterday. And of course, they already had other things going on just in terms of injury because their linebacker, John Bustick, suffered a pec injury yesterday, or actually on Sunday, in their win at Atlanta, and he's going to have to. He was having a MRA amid concerns that that injury was a permanent one, and then they also said that Ron Rivera said receiver Curtis Samuel looked good and moved around well, so I think he did play in that game and everything. But it's always interesting when sometimes outside interests, whatever those interests are, whether that's drugs, whether that's whatever. Because I mean, it even could have been something related to like relationship stuff. Like it could have been stuff related to child support, for all I know. But when outside interests impact what is going on with a major part of the team, because the trainer is a major part of your team. So if you don't have a trainer, I'm imagining that the the assistant trainer will take over, but they don't have the same kind of knowledge all the time as your main trainer, depending on how long that person has been the trainer with you. So what is your thoughts when you hear about things like that, when people are put off to the side because of whatever might be going on, but some kind of investigation caused him to get pulled away and everything along those lines?
Well, I just want to make before I say anything about it because I don't know the case, but it could be a witch hunt.
It could
And
be.
the reason why, what happens, see, a lot of people don't like to know this type of stuff. But in the locker room, those players come to that trainer, and he's going to give them what they need most of the time. I don't know if any of you ever seen Any Given Sunday. It's a movie,
Right.
but it was with Lawrence Taylor, and he had a broken neck, and he had been playing on the broken neck for a couple of years. And they were saying if he take a hit, he could die. But he was like, no, I'm playing. And the trainer said, I didn't tell him about it because he didn't want to know about it. But they still
Right.
fired him. So it's a lot of this stuff goes on. He's giving guys pills that they shouldn't have, whatever they need to get them ready for the game. And sometimes you got to go by legal formats. You can't do more than what the book says. And he probably have done it. They got it on books, they got it on files, and they got to they're trying to probably find out what he's done and fire him. So I think it could be a witch hunt, but I don't know. That's all I can from what you said. That's what I can take
No,
out
and
of
I
it.
hear you. And yeah, we'll have to do some more research, come back into the story and find out what we find as the story develops. Always interesting to find these different things that are going on in the world. By the way, speaking of going on in the world, apparently we got a big battle about to come down and everything. So we're gonna find out about what this battle is between Notre Dame and Oklahoma, because apparently there's some sort of battle going down between them. So we're gonna find out what this is all about. Yeah, Rick Meyer remembers the first time he slapped the "Play Like a Champion Today" sign at Notre Dame. The wooden sign, 3 feet, 4 feet, 3 feet high, 4 feet wide, and painted gold with blue hand letterings, hangs over the narrow staircase in the tunnel at Notre Dame Stadium, just high enough where players can reach up to pay homage on their way to the field. As a student, I'm touching the sign, and I didn't know it had been there 50 years, said the former star quarterback who arrived at Notre Dame in 1989. That locker room was sacred. That stairwell was sacred, that tunnel was sacred, and that sign's a very big part of it. But when Meyer first laid hands on it, the sign had only been hanging for 3 years at the direction of football head coach Lou Holtz, who was hired in late 1985. The sign was in place for the 1986 season, representing Holtz's ambition of restoring the luster of a legendary program that at that time had fallen into mediocrity. The idea, he said, came from a book on the Notre Dame history that he had checked out from the university library over the winter breaks in hope of learning as much as he could about the school's proud tradition. He saw a photo featuring the sign, which was no longer hanging in the stadium. So he said Holtz apparently started asking around what happened to that sign. Nobody knew anything about it. Granted, it was probably during Coach Newt Rockney's days. I don't know. So the sign slap became a beloved ritual at Notre Dame, as of course Holtz led the Irish to a national championship in 1988, and just his third season in 1991. NBC, which had given the university its own marquee TV deal, showcased the sign by placing a camera in the hallway that captured the players hitting it. It's a sign. It sort of became synonymous with Notre Dame, according to Holtz. But that has caused an outrage at Oklahoma, where football head coach Bud Wilkinson placed a "Play Like a Champion" sign over the locker room during either 1947 or 1948, according to the school. A version of the same sign has been in constant use at OU ever since, but it has never earned the same mystique that the Notre Dame sign draws. I came here in the 60s and was already up, said Barry Switzer, the legendary Oklahoma head football coach from 1973 to 1988, who was a coordinator before that. So looks like there might be these two signs that are getting a lot of notice and everything, and the people in Oklahoma are like, "Wait a minute, we had our sign up first." So, but y'all got more recognition and more play in terms of y'all sign. So it does seem like there's a war of words between the two universities as to who should be allowed to own one of college football's most fabled traditions, which is this whole tradition of slapping the sign and everything. So, that could be interesting. So, I guess the TV deal went to Notre Dame, but it seems like Oklahoma has history on their side. So, what are your thoughts when you hear about these iconic signs or iconic traditions? And there's a whole argument as to who's got the right to do what.
It's a college football. It's built off of stuff like that, of things that we always did before we walk out the locker room. It's a lot of different what would you call, what would be the word? It's a lot of different things that teams do before they play. I know Miami Hurricanes, every time they get a turnover, they do the chain. A lot of other teams started doing it. So nobody's gonna beat Miami because they the first one that did it. So Notre Dame, even though Oklahoma's been doing it for a long time, Notre Dame is just one of the most historic schools in the history of college football. So Oklahoma just hating on Notre Dame. Long story short.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Sounds like they're hating on each other.
They
No doubt
is.
about that. We get ready to have another basketball tournament that's getting ready to go on, and I understand that there were some awards given out in this, but we always talk about the guys, but the girls can play some basketball too. So definitely Connecticut and Las Vegas started the postseason as the top two seeds, but Chicago and Phoenix have the upper hand through three games. So definitely looks like we're in the middle of the WNBA playoffs. And I was wondering, do you ever watch the WNBA? And do you agree with me that sometimes the women can be better players than the man in the sense of playing a more textbook version of the game? So they may not be as flashy, but I definitely think that they sometimes play a more textbook version of the game as well. So what are your thoughts? Don't get me wrong, the women can get flashy because there's even some women that can dunk. But what is your thoughts about the WNBA? And do you ever catch the championships? And they are usually held in the off season away from the NBA. But definitely I've seen some great games, and I was wondering if you ever watched it and what you thought of some of these amazing players. And by the way, I understand that the New York Liberty forward Magali Onyenware was named the WNBA's 2021 Rookie of the Year. So she helped that team clinch the New York Liberty, their first WNBA playoff berth since 2017, and her efforts did not go unnoticed. And she's a 6 foot even forward, and she got that award, receiving 47 votes from a national panel of 49 sports writers and broadcasters. Her teammate Dee Dee Richards received 1 vote, and the Atlantic Dream guard Erin McDonald got a vote as well. But it seems like she won pretty handily, and it looks like she's got good reason to, because she started in all but 3 of the 32 regular season games, and she played and was the only rookie to average at least 20 minutes per game. And she also swept the WNBA Rookie of the Month awards for the entire 2021 season and was unanimously voted the AP WNBA Rookie of the Year. She was the number 6 pick in the draft this year, and she played 4 seasons at UCLA, where she was the fourth leading scorer in program history with 1,888 points. And she also led UCLA to their Sweet 16 appearance in her senior year. So, what is your thoughts when you hear about these women doing really great and all of that?
So I gotta be honest. I don't watch a lot of WNBA, and the reason why, they are way more skilled than most men.
Mhm.
But the men don't have to be skilled because we can do the flash, the dunk, the alley oops, those type of things. So if you always want to sell tickets, you got to have something box office. No matter how good the integrity of your game is, you got to have something box office. So to me, in my opinion, a lot of people might not agree, but I think the girls should lower the goal. Not because you need it, but say you can just say every 75% of the league can dunk. Trust me, if y'all want more money, this is what you need to do. And this is not
Mm.
messing up, this not nobody's neglecting your skill set or
No, no,
anything.
not at all.
Huh?
That's it. I'm hearing you. Yeah, maybe just
Yeah.
lower the goal a little bit.
Yeah, just lower the goal a little bit. And if I'm telling you, if I was to go that I see on Sports Center and I see this girl dunking on another girl and the other girl falls down and she gets up, she's upset, that's entertaining. So listen, people don't come to the game just to say, oh man, she's dribble and she dunks and turning the ball over and she's a perfect dribbler. That's good. But only the people that play the sport can see that. People that from the outside that got money, they need to see something entertaining. So lower the goal a little bit, and if you can dunk, and I can see dunks in every game, I think it will be phenomenal. That's just my opinion, and it's no disrespect to to women and their skill set because I think women are way more skilled than men are because they gotta be. They're like, okay, I gotta outdo, I gotta show people that I can play too. So most of the time they skilled out of their mind, but it's no entertainment and there's no dunking.
I hear you. But speaking of, you mentioned the word earlier, integrity. Apparently, integrity has got the WNBA in trouble, and it's about something that we've talked about before, which is sports wagering. But the Mohegan Sun Casino announced on this past Monday that it has suspended wagering on the WNBA after questions were raised over a potential conflict in taking bets on the Connecticut Sun, a team also owned by the Mohegan tribe. So the issue came up after Governor Ned Lamont opened the sport book last Thursday, the first day of legalized sport betting in Connecticut, by placing a $50 bet on the Sun to win its playoff game with the Chicago Sky. The wager captured the attention of some experts and state lawmakers concerned about a potential conflict of interest with the Mohegan Sun accepting bets on the Suns, which plays in the arena located at the casino complex. Casino officials said Monday that they had decided over the weekend to suspend betting on the WNBA playoffs at the sports book. So they're in the process of working with the WNBA to update their standard operating procedures, and they have decided to take WNBA wagering off until this is finalized, according to Jeff Hamilton, the Mohegan Sun president and general manager. So it looks like the ownership of a team can get you in trouble, and you might not be able to bet. So it looks like that is what happened in that regards. And on a lighter note, and coming back to same things with the WNBA, Los Angeles Sparks star Niniki Akawamick has been named the recipient of the 2021 Kim Perrott Sportsmanship Award, and that was announced on Sunday as well. So looks like she's doing some really good things in that area of sportsmanship, and she is a six-time WNBA All-Star and the 2016 League NBA, and she led the Sparks with 14.5 points and 6.5 rebounds in 18 games this season, despite battling a knee injury. The Sportsmanship Award is given to a player who exemplifies the ideals of sportsmanship on the court, including ethical behavior, fair play, and integrity. And the award is named for the late Kim Perrott, who helped the Houston Comets win two WNBA champions back in '97 and '98 before being diagnosed with lung cancer in January of '99 and dying that following summer. So, what do you think when you hear about these kind of like integrity questions, and definitely around the casino issue that was going on? Always glad when people get the sportsmanship awards, but I'm more curious to hear what you've got to say about this possible conflict of interest.
Well, just like college students can be bought because they don't have any, they're not making any money. So to me, I fought the NCAA for a long time because they, you, of course, a person could be bribed. Like referees, they make too much money where they can't be bribed at this day and time, like it was maybe in the 1980s or 1970s. So the same thing. the WNBA ladies, I don't feel like it's making enough money, and it messes up the integrity of the game. Where is this bet legally? Like, because you don't see that in men. You don't see them. Oh, we canceled all the men's sports. This guy come and put up a bet today. We didn't like it. No, it's not happening because that it's too much money in the sport, and they're gonna, the integrity is better. I'm not saying it's like 100% because we see stuff all the time, but I believe that the women need to make a little bit more money and put more money into their sport, and the other things will trickle down, and you won't see these stop embedded and stuff like that. Everything will be okay, but it's got to be more money into it. I don't know why the nuances are is like that, but to me, I believe they just need to have the players need to make more money, and then the referees, the coaches, and the trickle down effect.
Speaking of getting more money, there's a major tournament that even a great tennis player thinks is not getting enough attention because it's going on at the same time as a major part of their sport. So John McEnroe wishes that the Laver Cup could get more attention and thinks it's a mistake that the ATP Tour schedules regular tournaments that conflict with the 3-day exhibition event. So Captain Bjorn Borg's team Europe clinched its fourth consecutive Laver Cup on Sunday by taking an insurmountable 14-1 lead over McEnroe's Team World. This is my personal opinion, but I don't think there should be any tournaments going on if they want to try to get to the level of a Ryder Cup. Say, it's got to stand on its own, McEnroe said, referring to the team golf event that was also held this weekend. It's not going to be like, well, other players need to be able to play and get their points at the event in Kazakhstan, wherever they are right now. I just don't agree with that. I think it's a mistake by the ATP. McEnroe pointed out that Roger Federer, whose management company is the driving force behind the Laver Cup, and Rod Laver, the 11-time Grand Slam champion for whom it's named, are involved. Yet it's difficult to sort of get the respect that I think this deserves, said McEnroe, who also works as an analyst for ESPN. It tears me up. Even without any of the Federers, Rafael Nadal, or Novak Djokovic on the roster this time, Team Europe won 8 of the 9 matches on hard court. McEnroe complained was too slow inside the arena that hosts the NBA Celtics and NHL's Bruins. Tokyo Olympic singles champion Alexandria Zverev of Germany and mixed double gold medalist Andrea Rublev of Russia beat Riley Opelika of the U.S. and Denis Shapovalov of Canada 6-2, 6-7, 10-3 in a match tiebreaker in doubles to open Sunday's play. So definitely it looks like it's one of those tournaments that's like an all-star tournament, but they're having a hard time because they're going up against other major events going on. Speaking of other major events, a return to court for Ash Barty this season looked less likely on Tuesday after the world number 1 player was omitted from Australia's team for next month's Billie Jean King final in Prague. The Wimbledon champion who returned to Australia after a third-round exit at the U.S. Open in September led her country to the final of the last completed edition of the Fed Cup in 2019, and the women's team tournament was canceled because of the global health crisis last year and subsequently renamed in honor of American trailblazer King. So it looks like a major player is leaving. The captain said Ajla had an incredible year, and this is a great opportunity for her to lead the team and all of that. So definitely, it looks like one of the players, Ajla Tomlovich, who they're referring to, and she's going to be on the team, unlike this other person that is leaving Ash and everything. So it looks like they're saying it's going to be an opportunity for people to kind of like step up and do what they can do in this sport. So I was just wondering, do you follow tennis, and what do you think of like these kind of tournament because I think there's even some around here that are kind of like pro tournaments where people will come and it might be some of the champions from back in the day. Because I'm pretty sure that we've had a couple of these pro-am type tournaments here in the Triangle where you might get to see one of the legends, but after they've left, and now they're trying to do this version of something similar to the Ryder Cup in golf. So what are your thoughts about tennis as a spectator sport, and particularly when it comes to other areas or kind of like creating these type of tournaments?
So it's basically, to me, this sounds like, to sum it up, it's like a celebrity match.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I mean, if they want, to me, if they need some money and they want to go make some more money, I guess. But I don't understand why I wouldn't put my legacy on the line for anybody to beat me.
So you wouldn't Yeah, I got you. So you already got that legacy, so why bother putting the legacy and
I'm not
everything?
playing you unless I need a couple mil. You know.
You need the big money though to even come out of retirement. Is what you trying to say? You're not trying to
Yes.
play these little Ryder Cup tournaments or these in golf or whatever this laver cup tournament is in tennis, or trying to come out of retirement for these pro am things. You like, I'm only coming out. I won several $1 million on the circuit. I'm only coming out if you got some more money like that to offer me. Otherwise, I'm gonna sit here, collect my check, and chill out. Is what you're trying to say?
Yes. That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
I'm just gonna chill out. Y'all can leave all that special stuff for yourself and everything. 'Cause I'm not doing it.
Nope. Just think about this. You think you can get Michael Jackson to come out here on the street and do a street dance and stuff? No, he's not doing it. He's Michael Jackson. So why is these pros trying to come out and do this? I think it's all for money. But it's like these celebrity boxing matches. I think the guys just need money.
Speaking of folks that need money, one thing you don't need money in sometimes. Well, sometimes you do, but it looks like this is gonna be, speaking of matches that we might have to catch and watch. I'm thinking this could be a good one, and it's gonna be a match in another sport that we've talked about every once in a while. But Brazil is a world ranked power in soccer. But you can't sleep on some of them other South American countries as well. And it looks like on Thursday, as in this coming Thursday, Brazil will be taking on Venezuela. So I would never sleep on Venezuela, even though Brazil is considered the number one team and all of that. So definitely it looks like there might be a big match coming down and everything. So I imagine that that's going to be a major match, and it does look like it's a World Cup qualifier. Now, historically, they have won Brazil just about every time that they played them, but I'm still not sleeping on any team that's in a Latin American country as well. Maybe you can sleep on them, but I'm not sleeping on anybody that's a fellow Latin American country, particularly in a region that loves their soccer. So even though it looked like they had won, I think about 5 games in a row or something like that, I'm I'm going in that game with mad respect, because I'm afraid that this might be the time that they take me out. So that's the way I would handle it if I was Brazil. How would you handle it if you were Brazil, even if you had that history of having beat them several times and everything, but you do know that it's one of your rivals in your continent, being the continent of South America and everything. So if you were them and you knew that you maybe owned them in the past, I'm thinking that if you're like me, you're not going to just sleep on them. You're going to try to let them know that you respect them as well, and hopefully get that additional win. But you're not going to sleep on them, are you?
No, I'm gonna stump on the neck. That's just how really great teams do. They stump on your neck. That's why I said my Cowboys we stumping on the Giants' necks this week.
So, like I said, you want so you're thinking Brazil's probably going to do the same thing. They already own them, so they're just going to thump on their neck and be like, "Look, we already own you. So we're just going to show y'all that we own you, and we're going to keep stepping on your neck until you tell us that you are actually playing at our level. Then we might even have more respect. But right now, while we own you, we're going to continue to own you." Is what you're
You the
saying?
red-headed stepchild.
Redheaded stepchild. Is that what you gonna do?
Yeah.
So he's like, "I'm owning y'all. Y'all is mine."
Yep.
I don't blame you. That's what you got to do sometimes. You got to own them people. You're like, "Look, I own you, and you ain't got no choice in it whatsoever. This is mine, and I own you big time and everything." Oh
Yeah.
no, now we got people dressing up again in ring attire. So apparently boxing is trying to become like wrestling. So apparently this is a new article that is out there, but apparently Deontay Wilder pulled up to Cosmo and Donati on Melrose Avenue in West Hollywood, California, in a custom-made black and bronze Rolls Royce. It was last summer, about 6 weeks before his highly anticipated trilogy boxing match with Tyson Fury. The former WBCA heavyweight champion stepped out of the lavish vehicle as shoppers on one of the Los Angeles most iconic streets gathered around. Wilder greeted fans, signed autographs, and held babies before heading inside the store. Then he tried on some new clothes and did fall runway modeling for the owners, Cosmo Labino and Donato Crawley. After about an hour, it was time for Wilder to do what he came for, see for the first time and try on the walkout gear he will be wearing for the third Fury fight. We go in the back, open up the door, and we reveal the costume. And he's like, "Oh my God," he was so grateful. He was so happy. He was like the kid in the candy store. Wilder is known almost as much for his fashion as he is for being one of the top biggest knockout punchers in boxing history. his 40,000 over-the-top entrance outfit for the second Fury fight in February 2020 is the most talked about and controversial piece of clothing ever worn by a boxer, in part because Wilder blamed the weight of it for his loss. But the Bronze Bonzer is undeterred. Lambino and Crowley will dress him for the fight for a fifth straight time Saturday at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Wilder wants to continue pushing the boundaries of fashion in boxing. Nobody comes out with a better uniform than I, Wilder said last month during a virtual news conference. We're going to continue with that. We'll just have to see what I put on. It's going to be something special. Now, I remember back in the day, the boxers didn't come out with no special kind of outfits. I mean, the wrestlers did, but it was not about anything but showing your skills in the boxing arena. So that being said, as I read this article, apparently this boxer is all excited about this outfit that he has got. What is your thoughts about these boxers coming out in what I would consider a more like wrestling style outfits and all of that? I guess it's part of their psychic game and all of that. But what are your thoughts about this? And we know boxers, like wrestlers, have nicknames, but I have not really been seeing a lot of boxing. You go back to the days of Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali and even Tyson. I do not remember a lot of flashy outfits. They probably would have thought that that was something almost sacrilegious in some ways and everything. So, as a fan of boxing, because I do believe that you're a fan of boxing, what are
Yes,
your
sir.
thoughts if you see people that are coming out in these crazy outfits?
Well, that same boxer, when he lost to Tyson Fury, he came out in an outfit that was like 60 pounds. It
Right.
looked like some kind of shredder type black outfit. And he said his legs was weak. That's why he lost. What you gonna say this time?
Exactly. You
So
go.
I go ahead and get that special outfit. Like you said, you know what Mike Tyson used to put on? He used to cut a towel out in a triangle and put it over top of his
That was it.
head. So let him go on and get cute.
So get cute if you want to, but when you get your ass kicked, then you'll be feeling a little silly because you got your ass kicked and all of that. Supposed to be
Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Well, boxers had a pretty busy week because they said that Alexandria Usyk's upset victory over Anthony Joshua kicked off a hectic fall season for the sport of boxing. The biggest stars will return over the next few months, and in many cases, they'll be competing against top level competition rather than doing the stay busy fights that have become all too common. So they say that Teofimo Lopez and George Camposo were scheduled to be up first, but a second delay resulted in their bout being reset for October 16th. Lopez has plenty of options if he's able to get past Camposos, including the man he beat for the belt, Vasily Lomachenko. And Terrence Crawford gets his big matchup against Sean Porter in November, and his teammate Jamil Heron has a similar challenge in rising star Shakur Stevenson. And after last week's chaotic press conferences, the world will be watching on November 6th when Canelo Alvarez tries to become undisputed super middleweight champion, with Alvarez and Caleb Plant exchanging shoves, fists, and words. How impactful was their first encounter? So looks like there's some big matches that are going to come on and everything. So what do you think about boxing as a sport now? And are these big names and are these fights going to bring it back to any semblance of glory? Or are we still a long way from boxing coming back? Because I remember hearing about some of these shoving things, and that's just, I think it was last week. It was actually, I think, a couple of weeks ago. But what are your thoughts about this whole boxing and whether boxing is going to rebound in any form or fashion?
I don't think it's going to rebound. I actually think it's going to fade out. And I hate to say that because Mark, I know you really love boxing because you came up in the time where boxing was for real. You seen the real good boxers, but now, man, it's UFC and boxing is just okay. Let me buy my judges. I got my judges. Come fight me. I won. They said I won, so I won. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't even judge the fight right anymore. So it's a lot of people don't like boxing because it's a lot of bad like judging with it, and I think everybody's going to end up probably trying to go to UFC because it's just where the money is at. Even Floyd Mayweather talked about he's one of the best boxers of all time, and he talked about going to fight somebody in UFC. So that shows you what boxing is. It's more celebrity now. I think everybody want to see their favorite celebrity box.
Yeah, I hear you. Speaking of a sport that kind of died down and does not have the kind of view that it used to have and everything, I remember because you talk about the ways that I grew up. I definitely grew up with certain people like Lance Armstrong who were in that biking world and everything. But I don't even hear that much about the international biking. So I was just wondering, do you think that that's another sport that maybe it still has its fame over there in London and other parts of the world, but that it has died down? Because I remember I even had a neighbor when I lived in Warrenton that he used to bike all over the country, and we still see people biking all over. But I don't know that biking as a sport well, I don't think it ever really took off in the United States. And I'm not sure that it still has the same luster that it used to have overseas and everything. But I was just wondering, of your observations, how do you think biking is doing as a sport? We talked about automobile racing last week, but I was wondering, how do you think, and I'm talking about both bikes, both motorbikes as well as the more traditional regular bike, but there might be a 10 speed or a 15 speed or whatever. But how do you think biking and motorbiking are doing as sports?
I don't think as a sport is doing really great, far as I can tell. But it is actually upticking in exercise. Guys, things that guys or women do to exercise to get ready for the particular sport because it's easier on your knees. So biking actually is getting really big for exercising to rehab a knee injury or rehab a leg injury. But it's not far as biking after Armstrong told all those lies and got caught cheating. It's not been the same since.
I hear you. Speaking of a sport that is doing well, and they're going to be at 70% capacity. So if you know how big this sport is in the world, 70% capacity is going to be a whole lot of people. But I was checking out news in the world of cricket, and they've got the T20 World Cup, and they're going to have fans at 70% capacity, of course, across the venue. So this is going to be the largest scale event with fan involvement in the United Arab Emirates since the start of the pandemic. So the upcoming Men's T20 World Cup in October and November in the United Arab Emirates and Oman for some of the first round games will witness significant spectator presence with all the stadiums set to allow people in at 70% capacity throughout the tournament. And they announced that recently and everything. This will make the tournament the largest scale event held in the United Arab Emirates since the pandemic in terms of fan participation. The second half of the latest PSL held in the United Arab Emirates in June this year was not open to spectators, while the ongoing IPL has fans at the venues in a reduced capacity. So it does look like this particular government is going to open it up. And if you've ever seen a cricket match, and they can be long, but they can also be a whole lot of people. So tickets have already gone on sale for games in both Oman and the United Arab Emirates, and the stadium in Abu Dhabi will also include socially distant pods, 4 people in each, while a temporary structure at the Oman Cricket Academy will enable up to 3,000 fans to attend in person. The T20 World Cup was originally scheduled to take place in India, but a surge in COVID-19 cases in the country earlier in the year resulted in a relocation to the United Arab Emirates, where the remainder of the IPL is currently taking place. So that begins on October 17th in Muscat, and then that'll be featuring a match between Oman taking on Papua New Guinea in the first round, from which 4 tournaments will join the top 8 teams in the main competition, which will begin on October 23rd when Australia takes on South Africa in Abu Dhabi. So it does look like this is going to be a major tournament in the world of cricket, and I'm imagining a whole lot of people are going to be there. It does sound like they're trying to do some steps in the area of social distancing and all of that. And I know that there's even a local cricket team, so I need to talk to my friend Steve and find out if I can go watch a game, because I think that they do the more quicker version, because apparently there's a quicker version. I'm not trying to stay out there for 3 or 4 days, because I do know that sometimes cricket has the long version. And Terry, I'm not trying to do the long version. I'm not trying to stay out there for 3 days unless there are going to be other elements involved in there, like drinks and things of that nature. I'm just not trying to stay for 3 days. Oh, he bounced on me. I didn't know he was bouncing. But yes, I'm not trying to stay for 3 days at all in that regard. So I'm here to wrap everything up. But that's just some of the other things that were going on. I don't know where Terry went. He probably had to bounce, and I can understand that, because I was just talking about cricket and things along those lines. But since we get ready to wrap everything up, we get ready to tell you just really quickly, because I need my picks. I actually needed Terry to help me with those picks. And maybe he'll come back on, maybe he won't. I mean, he may be sending me a note on LinkedIn, but I'm going to make the picks and all of that. So I'm going to see if he pops back. But if not, I'm going to make the picks and get on out of here, because we do need to make our picks for this week in terms of who's going to be the winners for the picks and everything. So I'm going to check on that really quickly and see if we got some picks that we can make in that regard. So I do need to get some picks on my side of what's happening in that regard. So while I'm waiting for the picks, I might put on a video about leadership and things along those lines. So I still need to get my picks, and I don't know where my pick people are. So and I got to get that all situated. I think I might give y'all a little bit of a sportsman related poem that a good friend of mine did that I think that y'all will enjoy as well. And then I'm going to find my picks and make those, and then we're going to get on out of here. So I've got to find that particular video, and then we're going to get to our picks as well. So if y'all will hold on one second, I'm going to find that for you, and then we're going to get on out of here and have some great conversations. I know that he had to get to his side of the world in order to do things in terms of things that he's got going on in the relationship to his teams and his leagues and all of that. So if y'all will hold on one second, I want to see about trying to get this situation situated. So right now we're going to put on a spot so I can find what I need to find in that regard. So I'm going to try to find a couple of spots, and then we'll come back with our picks and get on out of here. But right now, let's just check out a little bit of this wonderful ad that I was looking for as well, because we do have other programs and other people that help us here as well. So we're going to take just a little bit of a musical break, and I'm going to put on a little bit of music from this young lady that was a featured guest on one of my shows. And when I come back, we'll have those picks for you.
Yeah. My original plan was to learn to fly a kite. My original plan was to know what's wrong from right. And then when I discovered more, I walked toward an open door and was invited to take my time and explore. My original plan was to find a lifelong friend. My original plan thought that love would never end. As my imagination soared, I couldn't possibly be bored. I'll continue with my goal to find more. My original plan. Na, 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 na. Before it's too late, I wanna do everything. I wanna go everywhere. I've never been. Before it's too late, I'm gonna turn winter into spring. And where do I begin before it's too late? My original plan was Before it's too late, I wanna do everything. I wanna go everywhere I've never been. Before it's too late, I'm gonna turn winter into spring. And where do I begin? Before it's too late. With my original plan was to be a movie star. My original plan was to travel wide and far. And then I finally found my home. There was no longer need to roam. No regretting about the things I could have done. With my original plan. Oh yeah. I wanna see the sun go down, down, down. I hear you. Things change. I was gonna go everywhere. I wanna go far, far away. Go back and ride that El Camino. Ride.
All right, my original plan was for Terry to be here to help me with the picks, but I think he had to bounce off and take care of some other things. So we're just going to try this on our own and see if it works or not. By the way, don't forget to check out Terry on his YouTube channel. He definitely has his own YouTube channel. Of course, he's got some amazing things that goes on there at a regular basis. So you saw his name here, Terry Good. Look for that on all of the outlets, and you would definitely find that he's got some amazing picks and he's doing some amazing jobs in terms of helping people create their winning teams. Unfortunately, I've not been listening to his advice, or when I do listen to it, I've been getting it wrong. That's why I am 1-3. But hopefully, we're going to do better in the pick'ems. And he's not here to help me with this, so this is going to be me on my own. So we're going to see if I've got any sense of what's going on with these teams. And I did hear him say that he thinks the Los Angeles Rams are going to take the Seattle Seahawks, and it is a game that weather might be an impact. So I'm going to go ahead and take that one as well. And then on Sunday morning, we've actually got a game coming out of London, and that's going to be the New York Jets at the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm going to take the Jets in that one. It's an away game, and I've not been overly impressed with the Falcons. And I actually think the Jets can win back-to-back games. So I'm going to pick them in that one. Then we've got the Green Bay Packers at the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to take another away team. I might be taking way too many away teams, but I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. And then in the other game, we got the Tennessee Titans against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one. Tennessee Broncos against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Pittsburgh Steelers in that one. How about the New Orleans Saints at the Washington football team? The Saints have not been doing that great. The Washington team is having all kinds of personal issues. So I think I'm going to go with the Saints in this one. You know I'm always going to go with my Vikings, so that's not even a question. So the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. It will be the Vikings picked in that one. The Miami Dolphins at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And yes, I'm going with the Buccaneers on that one in the Battle of Florida. How about the Philadelphia Eagles at the Carolina Panthers? I just don't see the Panthers losing twice, not to that particular division and everything. Sorry, Lou. I know you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but I'm taking the Panthers in this one. The New England Patriots at the Houston Texans. This time, I might go with the Patriots, but I'm going to have to think about that one for a second. The Chicago Bears at the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that unfortunately I'm gonna have to go against my brother and think that the Raiders can actually pull this one off. How about the Cleveland Browns at the Los Angeles Chargers? I think I'm going to take the Chargers in that one. I am going to stick with my good buddy and Will, in addition to Terry, and go with the Cowboys when it's the New York Giants at the Cowboys. As far as the San Francisco 49ers at the Arizona Cardinals, well, that's going to be another interesting one. I think I'll go with the Cardinals in that one. The Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs, let's go with the Chiefs in that one. And let's go with the Baltimore Ravens in that one. So I'm actually picking a whole lot of home teams. So I might have to do some reassessment on a couple of these. But let me think if there's anybody that I want to change in this regard before we get ready to pick that last game and call it quits. I am going to take the New England Patriots in that one. Let me see if there's any that I want to change. The Cleveland Browns at the Los Angeles Chargers. Don't want to change that one. Actually, I think I will take the San Francisco 49ers against the Arizona Cardinals. And I think I will keep the Kansas City Chiefs with the Bills. So now I've got 3, 6. I've got about 6 teams that are 6 teams that are away, and about 2, 5, 8, 10. So I'm calling for 10 home teams to win and 6 away teams to win. And I'm calling that. And we're going to just leave it that way. So let's see if Mr. Terry is around. Probably not. And since he's not around, we're just going to wrap it up and call those our picks. He's probably going to laugh at me and tell me that those were horrible picks, but we'll find out next week. But right now, those picks are now official, and we will see how we do next week and also how we do with our lineup. And by the way, I've already submitted my lineup, so I can tell you what my – oh, no, I don't want to tell you that because somebody that's watching may watch and may be my opponent, and they might try to make some switches or some changes based on that. So I think I will keep that a secret for right now. I will reveal my lineup later, but I can tell you that some of the ones that I did not play last time, I made it a point to put them in this time. So since y'all didn't do good last time, please don't regress. Please go forward and continue to do well if I did not put you in and you did well when I did not start you. I do not want you doing well when I start you. I want you to do well when I start you. I don't want you doing bad when I start you, because that would be horrible. If you do bad when I start you and you do well when I don't start you, please do not do that. I want you to do well when I start you, just like you did well when I did not start you. So hopefully that will be the case. And a whole lot of that was tongue twisters and was getting me even a little bit confused. But that being said, we're going to get on out of here and get ready to wrap it up. So I hope that y'all have enjoyed this show. We did try to touch on a couple of sports, and we didn't even get to some of the basketball news, but we'll touch on that next week because there was basketball news on the forefront as well. Of course, there's always things happening on the basketball court as well. As a matter of fact, I may just really quickly, just so we can say that we covered at least some NBA news, find out if there's anything that was majorly needed to be covered in our NBA news front and all of that. So, that is a major story. I'm glad that I double checked. Paul Gasol, 2-time NBA champion, has announced his retirement from basketball. That's right. Paul Gasol announced his retirement from basketball on Tuesday, ending a career that lasted more than 2 decades and earned him 2 NBA titles and a world championship gold with Spain's national team. The 41-year-old had already announced his farewell from international basketball in August after Spain lost to the United States in the quarterfinals of the Tokyo game, which was his 5th Olympics. Gasol had been with the Spanish club Barcelona since February. His career had stalled before that because of a stress fracture in his left foot that lingered and kept him from playing for nearly 2 years. I'm going to retire from professional basketball, Gasol said. It's a difficult decision after so many years, but it's a decision that I really thought over. And I can tell you he was definitely a great player and definitely an amazing player as well. So the retirement announcement was made in an event at an opera house in Barcelona, attended by former teammates and family members, including Paul Gasol's wife, his young daughter, and his brother, Mark. Gasol won 2 NBA titles with the Los Angeles Lakers in both 2009 and 2010, playing a very vital role in those championships. So definitely that is some news that was out of the world of sports. And also the Phoenix Suns and DeAndre Ayton negotiations on max rookie extensions have stalled, according to some sources. The Phoenix Suns' reluctance to offer a maximum rookie contract extension to 2018 number 1 pick DeAndre Ayton has stalled discussions on a deal, according to sources at that told that to ESPN. Ayton, a key part of the Suns' run to the 2021 NBA Finals, has no intention of accepting a deal less than the comparable max contract signed by several of his 2018 NBA draft classmates, including Atlanta's Trae Young, Dallas's Luka Doncic, Oklahoma City's Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Denver's Michael Porter Jr., according to what the sources told ESPN. So right now, there is no deal totally finalized, and I'm sure that they would love to get that part of the puzzle totally involved and totally involved in the situation because he is a great player, and I'm sure that they would love to have him playing for them and all of that. And the last thing I'm going to bring up in sports is Golden State Warrior swinging man Andrew Wiggins on Monday explained his decision to get the COVID-19 vaccine, noting that he felt forced to do so in order to continue his NBA career. The only options were to get vaccinated or not play in the NBA, Wiggins said after the Warriors' preseason opener at the Portland Trail Blazers, his first public comments since getting the shot. It was a tough decision. Hopefully it works out in the long run, and in 10 years, I'm still healthy. Wiggins' decision comes after the league recently declined his application for a religious exemption. The topic of Wiggins' vaccination status came into question prior to training camp, given the restrictions from the San Francisco Department of Public Health requiring anyone age 12 or over to be vaccinated to attend indoor events. As part of that mandate, beginning October 13, Warriors players must show proof of vaccination before entering Chase Center unless there is an approved medical or religious exemption. Wiggins, 26, went into details about why he was so hesitant to get the shot, noting that he doesn't hold any ill will toward the Warriors organization for how the situation played out. They didn't make the rules, Wiggins said, but I guess to do certain stuff to work, I guess you don't own your body. That's what it comes down to. If you want to work in society today, then I guess they made the rules of what goes in your body and what you do. Hopefully there's a lot of people out there that are stronger than me and keep fighting, stand for what they believe, and hopefully it works out for them. Wiggins said he received the one-dose Johnson & Johnson shot, which will allow him to not miss any practice time and be fully vaccinated prior to the Warriors' October 21st home opener against the Los Angeles Clippers. So that's a little bit about what he said, and definitely sounds like he was doing it under duress and everything in that kind of situation. And last but not least, I did say that was going to be the last thing, but I see that there is a story about Carmelo Anthony, and he's saying that as far as his role with the Los Angeles Lakers, whatever we need to do, let's do it. So 19 seasons into his NBA career, and with a slew of accomplishments to show for his tenure, Carmelo Anthony's resume would suggest an automatic featured role for this league's Los Angeles Lakers. However, Anthony, 37, is open to whatever his new team asks of him as he continues to pursue the championship that has eluded him throughout his time in the league. At this point, man, whatever we need to do, let's do it, Anthony said following the Lakers' third day of training camp on this past Friday. It ain't, I can't sit, and I wanted to start. I want to come off the bench. Whatever it is, it is. Anthony played 69 games for the Portland Trail Blazers last season and was a starter in only 3 of them. It was the first time in his career, save for the ill-fated 10-game stint he had with the Houston Rockets in 2018 and 19, where he was primarily used as a reserve. I've had experience being a starter for 18, 17 years and had experience of coming off the bench for 1 year, Anthony said. It's not something I think about. So definitely sounds like they're trying to figure out their lineup combinations and how the team will be gelling together and how it'll work and all of that. But at least he's saying the right things. Now we'll see if it's actually done or not done. And definitely it looks like we're still facing that impasse with the 76ers and Ben Simmons. So on that note, I'm going to get on out of here. I'm going to give y'all a 30-second reverse count, and then we're just going to call it a day. And we'll be back next week with more great conversation around sports and around different sports that you may not always hear about. So let's go with the 30-second reverse count.